Hey y'all, I'm Jon Stork. I just want to let you know if you're a fan of music, songwriting, the process, or life in general, tune in right here on the Boston Chris Show and check it out. You never know what you're going to get. There's always something new right around the corner. Y'all check it out.
It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking.
Hey guys, welcome to another fabulous episode of the Boston Chris Show. And guys, we have a huge treat for y'all this week. I get to talk with Jon Stork, multiple time #1 Texas artist. And man, we get to spend about 90 minutes with Jon today. And trust me, every bit of this show just shows how incredible of a human being and songwriter and musician and artist and father and husband. And I mean, Jon is just such an interesting guy, and I think you guys will love him so much. Let me tell you a little bit about Jon. Hailing from Texas's coastal plains, Jon Stork is a troubadour whose life unfolds in song, poised to ignite the next chapter of his musical journey. Covering half the nation already, he blends honky-tonk grit with southern soul, capturing the essence of the open road and human resilience. With each chord, Stork invites listeners into a world where he blurs the line between performer and storyteller, rooted in his Texas upbringing, yet reaching for new horizons. As he continues to carve his path, Jon Stork stands as a beacon of authenticity and passion, proving that profound stories are best told through song. Looking ahead with new music on the horizon, Jon Stork is eager to surpass his previous achievements and continue pushing the boundaries of his craft. As he puts it, grab a ticket and hold on for the ride, because with Stork, the journey is just beginning and the Rocky Tonk spirit is here to stay. Guys, we are so excited to have Jon Stork on the Boston Chris podcast. I think you guys will love it. He's going to talk about all aspects of his life, his career, his music, and he's going to share not just his current single, but his next one that will be released next year that you can't find anywhere but right here on the Boston Chris Show. Y'all check it out. The one and only Jon Stork is my guest right now.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Zach Webb. You are tuning in to the Boston Chris podcast. Y'all have a good day.
So we got Jon Stork on the show for the very first time. Jon and I have actually never met in person. I'm hoping to change that someday, because I am a big Jon Stork fan, have been for a while. And Jennifer Redding, who is your radio promoter, I believe, she said, "What about Jon Stork?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea you were working with Jon Stork, man." My favorite song is "Taking My Time." I love that song so much. I send that to my wife all the time, especially when I'm in trouble, of course, right?
Yeah,
Because, I mean, that's when you got to use songs like that, the ones that really matter. Because the ladies need to know that we're listening, right?
absolutely. Hey, I'm honored that that you share that with your wife because I. We'll get into the song later.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course, man. So this, man, what a treat this is. And Jennifer, thank you so much again. But Jon has performed a couple of songs for us and sent them in. And the very first one we're going to introduce to y'all is the brand new single. It's Never Seen. Tell us about the song and how it came to be.
Well, before we even get to that point, when my wife told me, "Hey, you got to get a couple songs in," I was like, "Oh man!" We were just talking about the setup of the podcast to make sure the audio was all of it was right. So these were my first songs that I've recorded personally at home that weren't on a cell phone. So
Wow.
give me a little bit of grace there, but I'm on my way. I'll know as much as you one of these days here, Chris.
Well, I love them. I really enjoyed them. So thank you for doing that for us.
Absolutely, man. But this song, I mean, talking about being someone who likes to know where the songs came from, the idea, the line, or what have you. The latest single, Never Seen. I grew up right outside of a town of approximately 350 people outside of town. So we had a light, a post office, a cotton gin, and a food mart They brought in a truck stop as well. Up
Probably
on
a Dollar
the
General now too, right?
There's a Dollar General now, but there wasn't a Dollar General when we lived there. Okay, so those people have it easy.
Yeah.
But there was a food mart. It was the gas station that wasn't the truck stop up on the highway. And the food mart had milk, eggs, bread, candy, coffee, drinks, the typical corner store. We just only had one. So that's where everybody went. And in the mornings, these old boys would sit in there, old farmers or, guys that had retired and didn't have much to do. They'd go sit in there and drink coffee. And you would hear about who's leaving who, to the price of beef, to how the crops were doing, and back around to, the girls in town.
It's old school social media, man.
Exactly. And
Yep.
that's exactly where everybody found out the information. If you wanted to know anything, just show up at the gas station
That's right.
in the morning and grab a cup of coffee. And I sat down to write with a buddy of mine. This was a good while back now, but I sat down to write with him, and just the idea of those guys in that gas station talking to somebody saying, yeah, look, man, I guess you've never seen a heartbreak, because you're looking at one right now. And man, that story just kind of told itself in me telling what that was like growing up and walking in and hearing those guys talking about X, Y, and Z. And it really just wrote itself down, and we didn't think much of it. I loved the song as soon as it came out, and the style of it was actually based on, and I'm drawing a blank now, of course, but it was based on a bluegrass song that my buddy had showed me. And I was like, man, I love the way that the changes are taking place in the music and the notes. And so that got pulled into it. And so you got a Rocky Tonk bluegrass song about growing up outside of that town, and watching that happen more than once, to myself, my family included. So there's so many pieces of me within just a snippet in time. And so it was amazing to get to sit down and write this song. And my buddy really didn't even like it that much. He was like, man, we've written better songs. I don't know about this one. And as soon as we went and cut it, I thought, this song is probably going to be a whole lot more fun than anybody sees coming.
Yeah, and sometimes the songs you don't believe fully in are the ones that hit it big too, right? I mean, there's so many stories like that. And I love the video too that you put out with the song. Super fun, and I love the fact that you got your entire band into a convenience store. It's just a cool concept for the video as well. Really kind of drives home the message in the song as well. But we're excited, guys. Y'all check this out. It's a fully raw and acoustic performance from Jon Stork of his new single, Never Seen. Y'all check it out.
Personally mixed.
She's as cool as the horns on a Cadillac hood. She can stop you on a dime, breaking deck and make you turn around and look. You can bring her into church, you can take her home to mama. Good luck keeping her around if you're thinking that you're gonna. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. I guess you never made a mistake. I guess you never seen the sunrise on a pair of tail lights and learned the hard way. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. She probably told you that she loved you, and she always will. Now you're talking front porches and a house up on the hill. She got you wrapped around her finger and waiting by the phone. Oh, but bless your heart if you don't know she's already gone. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. I guess you never made a mistake. I guess you never seen the sunrise on a pair of tail lights and learned the hard way. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. Guess you never seen a heartbreak. Must have never made no mistakes. You never seen the sunrise on a pair of tail lights as she rolls away. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. I guess you never made a mistake. I guess you never seen the sunrise on a pair of tail lights and learned the hard way. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. Oh yeah. I guess you never seen a heartbreak. Oh yeah.
All right, we're back. We got the one and only Jon Stork, multiple-time #1 Texas charting artist here on the show. What's it like to hear those words? Multiple-time #1 Texas charting artist.
If I've learned anything from the guys that have taken me under their wing, when I hear that, it just makes me want another one, to be completely honest with you. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about the song.
All right, so the first question I always ask, I snuck that one in there. I shouldn't have done that. People are going to be like, you're off format, Boston, but that's okay. The first question is actually much more important, and that is, what are your favorite drinks right now? What are you drinking?
Oh, man. Okay, favorite drinks? I'm a sparkling water guy. You know, I've actually, between that and now that I'm back out in the country, between that and well water, man, there's not much better. Drinking, what else do I have in the fridge? Dr. Pepper, zero. You know, because I'm trying to watch my figure a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a better diet drink.
There's not
out there.
No,
I don't think there is.
I think zero sugar drinks are really good anyway.
Yeah,
I'm a fan, and I'm diabetic, so I have to drink that stuff anyway. So. But my favorite is zero sugar.
That's what's in the fridge.
Yeah, zero sugar Pepsi Wild Cherry is my favorite. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we're not far off.
There you go. We're neighbors.
Yeah, pretty much. So
I'm pretty sure it is cherry.
You talked about your town. I'm assuming you're talking about Beasley here. So tell us, born and raised in that area?
I was born and raised in that area until it was time to head out to college. And you bring it up, and after we just talked about the video, we actually shot the video for Never Seen in Beasley at that gas station that the song idea came from.
Nice.
And it was the last place that I went to, and we ended up getting full permission and spent the day in the gas station. But
it'd be a better story if you didn't have permission, though, Jon. Come on.
Hey, man, if you spend 9 hours in a gas station and don't have permission, I want to meet you, because it was crazy. It was and all while the gas station was still open and operating, mind you. You have to remember that. So we shot a music video in one day at an operating gas station.
In the middle of nowhere, essentially.
I'm surprised that there wasn't more commotion, because it was the craziest thing that has happened in Beasley, Texas, since I can remember, because people were showing up to the gas station just to poke their head in and then head out. But I actually just moved back out to the country. I'm about 40 minutes up the road from Beasley, which I never thought I'd end up back in the same area. But man, after after leaving and traveling the country and experiencing so many cool things and getting to see how people lived and where they lived and how it was everywhere else, I think I just wanted to come back home and get a little piece of home and have a little bit of peace while I'm here.
Yeah, your soul loves what it loves, man, and sometimes you just have to give it what it wants. You know what I mean? And I
Can't
mean,
fight it.
that's right. That's why, just being a creative person, whether it's an artist or a songwriter or whatever form of creation looks like for you, you can never stifle that for long because your soul wants that. It needs it. So
Yeah.
if you don't feed that, then your soul is going to make you miserable very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that may be a big impetus for why you decided to come back. I mean, usually your soul will drive you where you're supposed to go. And I mean, let's talk about, your earliest memories, not necessarily of life, but of music, because you're a full-time musician at this point, I believe, right? So what did that look like for you as a youngster? Your very first musical memory that you can kind of look back and kind of put a marker on.
Very first musical memory. I was on my way home from church with my mother, and she had put on some. I don't remember the song. I don't remember anything else about the drive, except for we were just singing. We lived a good ways away from where we actually attended church. My mother was a praise and worship leader, and we were always around music. I was the last one of 4 kids to pick up a musical instrument, and man, that drive home, the biggest stamp on my memory was we were singing. I was singing. My mom turned down the radio and said, "You can sing," and I was young, and from there, I sang in church. Like I said, mom played piano. She was praise and worship leader. My brother played guitar and sang and wrote songs. My older sister sang like a bird. My younger sister sang, played harp. I was outside playing in the dirt and messing with cows and horses and raising chickens and whatnot. And when I started playing, it was just kind of, it felt right.
So it's just an early cultivation, really. You have all this music around you, so I mean, you don't really have much choice, but to kind of parlay that into your own passion as well, right?
Absolutely. That and when we would go places, my dad would tell my brother, "Go get your guitar and you're going to play him a couple songs," and then he'd turn to me and he'd say, "Show him some pictures of your cows," and I would. It finally got under my skin, and I tell people jokingly I got into music out of strictly jealousy because I was the one kid in the family that was just, oh, here's look at my cows,
look at my cow,
look at my cow. I was the kid at the fair. That's what I did. That's what I grew up doing, and I put it in a song. I sold my cows, traded in my cows for a truck, and it's not just a song. Dad sold the ranch, called me and told me, "Hey, you got to get rid of your cows and your horses." I had 6 horses, and I had grown a herd of cattle since I had been in junior high to high school, and sold the ranch. Had to get rid of it, so I was already sorry.
It's all good.
The rooster. I was already playing music. I was a couch player, and finally, man, it just came time. It came time, and I was given a choice to either keep working at the job that I was working, or I could quit and start playing music. And
so I mean, looking back at your catalog of all of your songs, and I've listened to a lot of them over the last couple of weeks since I knew this was going to happen. You can definitely feel that you have lived the country life, and so like that shines through in your music. I definitely want to talk about that later when we talk about your songwriting process, because I think that's going to be a really interesting side to you. But before we do that, you mentioned that you did grow up on a ranch. Then you kind of went to junior college, I believe, in the College Station area. Moved up to college in Houston. Is music kind of being put onto a shelf while you're going through your education at this point, or are you still kind of dabbling in it here and there?
I dabbled all the way through it. Like I said, I was a couch player, so whether it was the roommates having parties or friends over, most of the time a guitar got pulled out on my tab.
Mm-hmm.
They, hey, play a couple songs for us, which was a cultivating. It's been a cultivating experience since growing up in church with praise and worship, and it honestly it doesn't stop. The cultivation is continuing.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, the people I'm hanging out with, the people I'm writing with. But I did play my first round in College Station, and I got tricked into doing that by a friend. He said, "Hey, I'll go put your name on the list. I'll buy the beers the rest of the night if you get up there." And I said, "I don't have a guitar." I was finding every excuse not to do it. And he said, "Well, while you were changing earlier at your house, I went and put your guitar in the backseat of my truck. So you don't have any excuses."
Yep.
And they've been trying to push me, the people around me, which I'm thankful for. I don't know where some of them are now, but if they wouldn't have done some of the things that they did to trick me into playing like that,
Well, it
videoing
seems to
me.
me like the guy who tricked you with the guitar should probably get at least 5% credit on all of your songwriters, all your songs, right? At least 5%.
Hey, we'll see. We've got to bring in a little bit more at this point.
John's like, stop giving ideas,
No.
Boston. Yeah.
I don't want anybody hitting me up for 5%.
Yeah.
5% of nothing's still nothing.
It's still nothing. That's right. So, was education going for your education? Because you go to junior college, you transfer to a big college, big university. Was education your idea, or was it kind of passed down from your parents?
Not so much passed down from my parents. Not my biological parents. I had a lot of parents growing up.
Yeah.
I've slept on a lot of friends' couches. I was at other people's houses and running around constantly. It was an idea from my parents, and my dad wanted me to go, try to get an education, and so I did. I moved up to College Station, went to junior college for a good while, paid my way through that, and then finally got into a university, and all the while dabbling in music and writing and everything that comes along with it, and slowly but surely going out and playing gigs, and even by myself. Didn't have a band at that point, and so it was like, okay, yeah. And when I got to the university, I was in my PR class. My public relations professor came up to me after 2 semesters, and she said, "Hey, is this legit? Is this real?" And I had been doing, I didn't know that was a function.
Well, it is now.
I've just got to hold my hands up. But she said, "Is this real?" And it was PR and posters and marketing stuff for myself and my music. And when I told her, "Yeah, I'm trying. I think I'm going to try to start playing some music," and she said, "Go."
Mm-hmm.
And if you come back here, I'll still be teaching this class. But you should go and give it a shot. Try. You have to try. It's not going to be fast. Might be. You never know. And her and that entire class showed up to what would be my first release party ever. And, man, I'll never forget that. They lined the balcony. And I didn't sign back up, and nobody asked me, including my non-biological mother, who was really pushing for me to go to school. And I just started playing, and I really hadn't slowed down until here recently, just because 7 years is a long time for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been busy, busy, busy. I want to talk about the beginning here where your friends are kind of hiding or even tricking you into performing. I don't want to say there's a lack of confidence in that, because I don't see that ever in Jon Stork, a lack of confidence, but perhaps more of a maybe some speculation on music being a career for you perhaps at the time. So what I want to know from you is, how did you evolve from that? Like, you know, I'm going to focus on school, we'll dabble in music on the side. Oh my gosh, my friend brought my guitar, and now you're talking about, let's do shows, let's do releases, let's write songs, and now you're out there, you put yourself out there. So how'd that happen? What was that transition like?
So it was not fast. It was probably, we're talking 3 to 4 years
Yeah.
between the, getting tricked into playing and then going and getting the ultimatum from a boss at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, I don't think it was a lack of confidence. It was just I didn't really see myself playing music
Yeah.
full time, because I grew up around everybody I knew had a job.
Right.
And so that
And a
wasn't.
lot of people will think that music is not a real job. So like that can kind of be the mentality for somebody like yourself, especially who grew up on a farm and is used to ranching and all of that real job work ethic kind of thing. And now you're, oh my gosh, music's not a real job. I can't do that. I got to go to school. I got to, so that can work against you.
Absolutely, and it does. Whether anybody's talking about it or not, it's
Right.
mentally it's working against you, and around the clock.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you one thing: I've had full-time jobs. I've been salaried. I've been this, that, and the other. I've never worked so hard in my life as I am right now.
Yeah.
So next time you see somebody playing guitar on the corner, or you see somebody that's playing in the little bar down the street that is $5 a ticket, even if you don't go put $5 in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's more rewarding at the end of the day than a cup of coffee. But I'm down. But
It's true,
man, the transition, it came out of some advice that I got from Pat Green. He said, man, go find the worst job you can find until it's time for you to play music. And it wasn't the worst job. I started out washing pizza pans. I moved back. I was traveling the country. I was working. I was playing guitar. I had been writing songs following that, being tricked into playing around.
Mm-hmm.
And I never stopped writing. I think What Makes a Woman, or I'm sorry, not What Makes a Woman, Taking My Time was written probably somewhere around that time that I was just getting started. And I think when it all comes down to it, I found the job, and they said, no, we don't want you washing pizza pans. Go serve some pizzas. And I said, okay, all right, sounds good. And they said, man, you're really good with the customers. You talk a lot, and you got a lot of stories. You ever make any drinks? And I said, I've never made a drink ever behind a bar. Not that I was welcome behind. And they said, well, here's a book. Go learn how to make some drinks. And I was a bartender down the road from where I was living in Houston and going to the University of Houston. And I got picked up by another bar working in Houston. They said, hey, man, come make a little more money. And then they found out that I could play. And like the last place, hey, you want to come play on Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
or come play on Friday night? And yeah, sure, sounds great. Thanks for the gig. And all the while this is going on, I'm slowly trying to put together a band and slowly trying to immerse myself, around other musicians. And because, like I said, I wasn't used to that mentality of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the boats are gone. Let's make this work. But man, when they sat me down at that bar in Houston, I had been taking off too much time on the weekend nights to go play music. And they said, hey man, you're taking off too much time. We love you as a bartender. You make great drinks. You're fast. Everybody loves you, but you got to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And that light bulb went off in my head from years prior to that. And Pat Green saying, go find the worst job you can find and do that until it's time for you to play music. And man, it wasn't the worst job. I know a lot of people that do worse, but getting home at 4:30 in the morning, and when this guy's going off, and just living a different lifestyle completely, even from what I'm doing now. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And when they told me that, I just kind of grinned, and they kind of looked at me a little cockeyed, and they were like, "Huh?" I said, "I quit."
Yeah, they weren't expecting that, I bet.
No, not at all. And since then, I've seen them both, and they're doing great, and they've come out to shows, and I mean it's cool. But that was the last job I had.
Nice. So I love interviewing because there's always like words that that a guest will say that'll bring another question, and then another, and then another. You mentioned kind of dabbling with solo music. That's essentially how most artists start out, is, you know, just with your hands in an instrument, and your in whatever your passion, your creativeness. But you just mentioned going from that and then kind of integrating other band members and trying to create a full band. What was that process like for you? Because you're up to this point, you're dabbling, you're a solo artist, you're playing some here and there, still going to school, but now you have other musicians that you have to kind of learn their processes, a different sound, different styles. So what was that like, going from the solo artist to full band at first?
Man, it was like driving around in a soapbox car and then jumping into a Formula One. For me at that time, it was just like pedal to the floor and hold on, stand in the middle and write the songs. And it was a team. You go from being the only person that anybody's looking at to one of 4 or 5, and everybody's doing their thing collectively, pulling into the middle of the wagon wheel. And man, it was a dream. We're living in, a dream come true. And it still is. I mean, that's the one time that people get to see what we do truly on stage, is the one time that we are not working. Mm-hmm. Is probably the easiest way I can put it.
I love that.
That's the fun part. It's all the other stuff that we brave through just to get on stage and hope that somebody's watching. It's all the uncertainties. It's the van breaking down and still figuring it out, just because you got to go to the next one, and mm-hmm. hopefully you get one person.
I had a very good friend, John. His name was Uncle Dallas Greenhorn. He's from upper northeast Texas. He's passed now, but he was a good friend of mine, and he mentored folks like the Abbott brothers from Pantera and Ricky Lynn Gregg and Little Texas, and he used to say all the time that playing the music is the easiest part, and then everything else was work, but playing the music will always be the easiest part of what I do. And so you just said that to me, and I have goosebumps. My hair is like literally up on end because you just reminded me of him. In fact, there's his signature on my arm right there.
Man, I actually wrote with. That's amazing, and that it's nice to know that there are still there are people that were before us, and I'm praying right now that there are people that come after us that still have that mentality, because if we were all in this, if I was in this for the fame, I would have already quit.
Absolutely. Yep.
The songs just keep growing, as do the people around you, and hopefully the people around you, and the process of you going and getting them, or finding them, or digging them up, mm-hmm. if you will. It's already there. You just got to chip away everything that's not there. It's mm-hmm. probably one of my favorite things I've heard. The song's there. We just got to get rid of everything that's not the song.
Yep. It's such a good way to put it, man. I love that. So smart. Now, you've had an interesting history in your life. You've had some loss. There's obviously, just like all of us, we've all dealt with things that are not the best. But from doing research on you, not just listening to your music, but also reading about you and hearing other interviews that you've done, it is pretty apparent to me that music is kind of your therapy place. It's kind of where you go for your therapeutic ride. Some people use yoga, some people meditate, some people pray. For you, it's legitimately music, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely is, man. And I know people that can't strum an instrument, pick up an instrument, period. And it's still, it's the same thing for them. They'll just go sit in a car or go drive around or sit in front of some, stereo speakers and just listen to some music. It is absolutely a therapeutic process. It's just a different way to get things out. As a guy, I'm real open and I share a lot. But if I put it into a song, that's really sharing.
Well, that's your vulnerable side. So I think the best songs out there, right, are the ones where the artist or the songwriter, it's not always the artist, but the songwriter is essentially putting their heart on the line. And really, when you put something like that out there, you're showing your vulnerability to a large audience, man. That's a huge, huge thing. And if you're the writer and the artist, now you have to perform that vulnerability over and over and over. And you in a way, you can't become immune to it, right? Because you have to have that feeling within your live performances for people to get the same feeling from it. So you're just repeating that vulnerability over and over again. I don't think people really understand what that's like. Try to explain that to folks out there.
I mess up. I can tell you that much. I do. Man, there's moments that hit me when I least expect them.
Yeah, absolutely.
In front of crowds that it's happened in front of 4,000 people. It's happened in front of 40 people, with a band, without a band.
Yep.
Man, I'll get into the song, and then within being in the song while I'm playing it, in my own head and thinking about different things. For instance, missing you lately. I lost my older sister. And I don't know how many times, it's only been a handful, but the amount of times that, I'll get to a certain line in that song and my brain just stops. And, man, anybody that's lost anybody can probably relate to some sort of that feeling at one point or another. And, there's a lot of that within the song. But for me, it's a whole lot less of picking up my phone and trying to call her these days. It's a whole lot more of when I play that song, I hit a certain point in it and I'm like, okay, just get to the next line. You got to get to the next line.
Yep.
You can't stop singing. The band's still playing.
But and those are the songs that your fans always want to hear too, always, because they relate to them the most, right? We all relate to that loss and that anguish, right? So, you put that song out there, they're going to request it. That's the one they relate to. They get it.
Man, it's just putting yourself out there over and over and over. It's the only way to describe it. You're throwing it out there for people, strangers, for people that have experienced it, that haven't experienced it. Doesn't matter. Yep. You're putting it out there for everybody.
Yeah, I recently interviewed a Grammy winner about this, and we're talking about somebody who has a lot of number one hits here, okay? And he told me that his best songs will never see the light of day through his voice because of that very reason. He can't relive that trauma over and over again in his life. So here we have one of the best songwriters known to man who his self-described best songs will never see the light of day because of that same anguish over and over again. So what does it take for you as an artist to actually choose to let those songs out there and share them with the world?
It doesn't really take much for me, because at the end of the day, it's all because of the song. We wouldn't be getting together unless it was for the songs.
Is it kind of a tribute as well to you? Like,
it is.
You're tributing your sister, right?
Absolutely. And, I definitely, I can definitely understand whoever said that. The best songs will never see the light of day through him,
Now he'll
because
plug them to other artists. He'll give them
yeah,
away to others.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, I wrote Over You with one of my best friends, and he wrote it from one perspective, and I wrote it from a different perspective, and we didn't really come to that understanding until after the song was written.
That's
And
great.
he said, "You take this song because I don't want to sing this every night, even though this would probably be amazing, and it would probably do some great things, and I could probably get it, to get to sing it in front of thousands and thousands of people. I can't relive this every night and go through it." And so, my perspective from the writing was more. It wasn't about love lost, um, and his was, and it was, it was one of those things he just didn't want to go through. Um, and some people are like that, and in my eyes, there are songs that my family hasn't even heard because I don't want to. I don't want to hurt them. Um, but at the same time, they're not my songs. I just held on to the pen and let God push them through. And at the end of the day, if I don't share what I've been given, it's going to dry up eventually. If you don't put those out, and in the same sense, if you don't snag those ideas that are coming to you or get them down. This is in Rick Rubin's book. And I totally believed this before Rick Rubin said it. If you don't go write that down, it's out there, man. Someone else is going to catch that and run with it. And it's a real thing. And the more that I'm up writing with my friends in Nashville and so on and so forth. It happened to me the other night, last week actually. A guy dropped me off and he's like, "Hey man, check this out." And I had the same idea, the same everything about it, almost except for the lines of the song. And I said, "I have this in my phone. Did you get this from me? Did you take this idea out of my?" He was like, "No, man, I didn't do that. I promise. I promise. This is my idea. I brought it up." And I was just like, they're out. They're not anybody's.
It's so funny because songwriting, man, it's just one of the few things on the planet that's so selfless and selfish. It can be both at the same time. It's so hard to understand that as a human being who's always trying to be humble. We're always trying to be humble. But as a songwriter, it's imperative to be selfish sometimes. You have to hold on to your own sometimes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean that's it happens every day up there. And I'm only up in Nashville once a month, and I go up and I write and I take meetings and I do the thing, and then I come back. But they tell you, don't hold your best ideas for one particular person. You never know what you're going to get, and that's an absolute fact. That's something that I try to remember, and you always want to put your best foot forward in those situations. But I know it's happening to me too.
Absolutely. Yep.
I know that they're saying, no, I don't, I don't really have anything right now. I'm saving that for Joe, and I'm writing with him tomorrow. So you're not getting that idea.
Man, Jerry Phillips, I hate to name drop, but Jerry Phillips, the son of Sam Phillips, the guy that literally discovered Elvis Presley, right? Jerry told me that when he's writing, he's not writing it for himself, he's writing it for the universe. And so his debut record, he called it For the Universe. And I was just blown away by that mantra of, and it just makes so much sense.
For the universe.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just kind of like punched me in the chest with that one. That's gold.
Yeah, it's just so cool what I get to do, man. Honestly, like you hear all these little snippets of stories from people that have been there and seen this and done that, and it's so cool, man. But yeah,
it is. And
I hear you saying things, and it just brings to mind things that other people have said to me as well. I'm going to push him back to songwriting a little bit further. I want to talk about full-time music in the COVID era with you because This is something that kind of, you did things a little bit differently than a lot of folks in COVID. So what was that like, just going, because we all found out exactly how essential we were or were not, right? So how do you deal with that? Like, I'm a full-time musician. Now I'm finding out I'm not quite as essential as I thought I was. So how do you continue to make a living during the pandemic?
Man, I was skipping across the water like a stone, just one tiny touchdown at a time, and a whole lot of praying. I honestly, you believe what you want. There's nothing short of an explanation other than God, because there's so many people that stopped playing music, went and got a job, went and whatever. I was just holding on for dear life, Boston. I don't know what to tell you other than that, because it was no mountain for a climber. We put our boots on and just started going, man. Mm-hmm. And the amount of people that came out of COVID appreciating it, I don't know about now, but coming out of COVID that appreciated going out and appreciated live music. It's a little bit different now than it was, of course, but times are constantly changing, and just part of it.
Has the content changed for you?
The content?
Meaning the writing, just the music. Has it changed at all because of the pandemic?
So you got to excuse me. I was homeschooled. Sorry, Mom. I love you, Mom. But no, man, I just dove in head first, to be completely honest with you. And it was amazing to just have that time and those songs and those ideas and those feelings and everything that came with that every single person around you knew, whether they were talking about it or not, was experiencing. And well,
it's funny, we all got shut down, right? And we're all in isolation. And that's kind of a good thing for songwriters. I mean, being isolated is not a bad thing. So now here we are. We're 4 years from the beginning, 4.5 years. It's crazy to think that's been that long. 4.5 years since the beginning of the pandemic. And now, I mean, as music fans, we are really swimming in some good music now. And that all came from isolation, right? Like, and there's not a lot of joy in the music right now, I feel. There's really not. But that's what's making it so great, I feel.
Yeah. I think there's more joy coming.
There is. I agree.
Because of the process. Yep. And so, I know some people that can write a song, get it worked up, get it recorded, produced, mixed, and put it out in no time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I'm not one of those people. Just because there's so many plates that are constantly spinning and juggling, and it's like, okay, do I have time? I got to ask my wife now. I'm like, what do I have this week that I'm missing? I know I'm missing something. What do I have? And she's like, well, you got this, 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 and this. All right, now I got to figure out when I've got time to. So I miss those days of just, what do we got to do? I'll never forget it, man, as well as so many other people will probably never forget that phone call. Mm-hmm. I know everybody had at least one phone call that was like, well, you can just stay home for a little while. Mm-hmm. And it was a radio promoter, a booking agent, and a couple other people called me within about an hour. No exaggeration. Just back to back to back. And it was like, so you can just pack it up.
That phone call for me, if you want to hear, was
yes.
There's a place in Gladewater, Texas, called the Truman W. Smith Children's Center, and this is for medically fragile children. Most of them are nonverbal and things like that. And we had a music program there that was named after a radio DJ friend of mine that I started. It was called the Matt Gansel Music Outreach on Mondays. And so every Monday we would bring in a different artist to play for an hour for those children. Now you have to understand, these children don't speak. They can't verbally tell you how they're feeling or whatever. But when you saw the music, their eyes would speak for them and they would move around and stuff. So that phone call for me was after 4 years of booking that every Monday with a different artist and literally never missed a week. they called me and told me they couldn't do it anymore because of COVID. And so this was in April of 2020. And then I was like, okay, this is for real. Because like the only time we ever missed a week was when they had an outbreak there of flu or something like that. And they didn't want to bring an artist in to exasperate that. So they told me no. But after 4 years, that was the only week we missed until COVID. And it wasn't until, I think, 2023 that they started the program back up. But it was like 3 years. But that was the call for me that let me know. You know, this is not cool, you know, and that's when I knew things were going the wrong direction. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough not, you know, doing that every week and then not doing it. It was so weird, you know, because that was part of my weekly thing, like find an artist.
That was your routine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And when all that came to a halt, it was just like, I'm sure as so many other people as well, we all kind of sat at home for a week or two and thinking, you know, okay. And then then it just kept going. But, you figure out how to make it happen on those things that you want that bad.
Yep.
And, man, we were blessed one situation after another. And just, like I said, like a stone skipping across the water, man. I was just trying to get to the other side at that point. And, it was real. Try putting out a full-length album.
I can't imagine.
Right before pandemic, man.
Yeah.
I was ready for radio tour and, radio cowboy. I was ready to go, and, thankfully we had done a lot of radio tour, and I love Texas radio and beyond that play Texas music and artists across the country.
That's
and man,
crazy
I went,
how far it goes now. It really truly is.
It's amazing, and we have a gift down here because I don't mean to brag or anything, but there's not like Kansas country. It's just not a thing.
Nope.
Nebraska country and hadn't really taken off yet. But
well, I mean, take the country out of it. How many other states are in the title of a genre? It's just not. It doesn't exist.
No.
It's not there. It's just not. I mean, you got like, New Orleans jazz maybe, but that's not a state.
Yeah.
Then you got Chicago blues. That's not a state. Memphis maybe. You got the Memphis blues scene, but you don't have Tennessee blues. And
No.
you don't have Louisiana jazz. It's more geographically tightened. Whereas red dirt music is it's Texas. It's Texas red dirt. Oklahoma red dirt, right? It's those two, in my opinion. You're right. It's not Kansas red dirt. That's for dang sure.
And that's that was thank goodness.
Sorry, Kansas.
I love Kansas. I just wrote with one of my best friends. He's from Kansas. But no, I think the whole process there and being thankful that I had hit stations across the country before that had all happened, and I was ready to go. Visit more, and I think we were still doing stuff out west and in West Texas as well, and I got that phone call to shut her down. You ain't going anywhere for at least 3 months. I can tell you that much right now.
Spend a lot of time with yourself after that too, don't you? Like, just a whole lot of time with yourself.
Oh, man, that's a dangerous place to be as well, especially if you're a songwriter. It's
we talked about that mental
regardless.
thing earlier, right? Like that imposter syndrome. You're not good enough. You shouldn't do this. Like you start getting wrapped up. Like I'll tell you what, man. A lot of my talking crap about myself didn't start until COVID. Like, and I mean I talk crap about myself all the time. So I get it.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a sign behind you, and I keep reading it, man, and I love that because you know what? At the end of the day,
that's why it's there. By the way.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be your own champion, because everyone's got an opinion. It doesn't matter if it's what hat I wear, what shirts, to what I drive or what I play. Everybody's got an opinion, and the only thing
I think
you can
too many
is,
people out there think that if they blow our candles out, it's going to make their own candle burn brighter, but that's not how it works.
they don't even realize that their candle's not even lit, man.
Right? Yep, that's right. That's so true.
So it's one of those things.
So let's finally get into the songwriting, man. You're an interesting cat, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
Stories in song. You've already mentioned perspective in song. There's so many different aspects to songwriting that make it so interesting to an outsider like me who can't even click a pen in rhythm. Right? I can't do nothing.
Come on.
No, it's true.
If I can do this, you can definitely click that pen to a rhythm.
Maybe. So, what's your process like? You mentioned God earlier, that you're just the pen, you're God's pen. Are you that conduit? You're just the conduit.
I took that. That was Hank Williams said that, and man, I couldn't agree more, because when you're sitting in these rooms, there's no guarantee. You could walk out with a hit song.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk out with a terrible song. You could walk out with half. You can walk out with nothing.
Well, for the record, the hit song can be a terrible song too. So I mean, this
it's a very good point. I stand corrected. There's so many different ways that it can go, though, and honestly, man, my favorite ones, and a lot of the best ones, and I've learned this just from paying attention. To the hit songwriters that I've gotten to write with and work with since I've really started diving into the songwriting. And even some of the other guys that aren't hit writers or what have you, they all start, and they don't talk about it. You just have to catch it. And if you don't catch it, that is what it is. But all the best ones start with conversation and then lead from there.
Yep.
And as soon as I caught that, man, I left that right. I'll never forget that day, man. I caught that, and I thought the whole rest of the writing. We got a song. I don't remember what song it was. If it was good or bad, I couldn't tell you. But the one thing I took away from that whole thing was these guys aren't talking. They're not coming in, opening up their cases, and what are we going to write today? The best songs and the best songwriters.
I love
my neighbors. See, they agree. Yep. They agree with me. The best songs always come from the conversations.
Are you friends with Bernie Nelson?
I am not, but we have actually been around each other. I don't know how many times, and you're going to make me reach out to him now, I think.
So, I got to talk with him recently. It's so funny you say conversation. I literally released a TikTok video today, probably an hour before we talked, from my interview with him, where I asked him what his best advice was for young songwriters. And the word he used was conversation.
Yeah. Man.
So crazy that you say that too. I love this.
Hey, man, what comes... I now I'm going to have to hit up Bernie, because if that's what he told me, or told you, and you're telling me, I feel like we would probably write some cool songs
Absolutely,
together.
You would.
And I love writing by myself. I don't do it often enough. Mm-hmm. Taking my time was a solo write.
Except for the 5% that the guy that tricked you gets as well.
Yeah. But that
do we have to give Pat Green 5% too? I mean, probably, right?
Look, he doesn't need it as much as I need it right now. Diapers are expensive.
That's a fair point.
But I will say, the conversation, man, it's real life. Mm-hmm. What we're doing right now, if you see me typing anything out on my phone, I'm not being rude. I'm just writing down. I'm writing out ideas, man, because it's just, I just wrote a song last week, and I know there's other similar things that people have written and released, but somebody said, man, it's tough. This isn't for the faint of heart. And I said, look, man, I've been doing this for a good while now, and I know what it takes, and I know what I have, and I know what I want, and I know the songs are only getting better. Man, I can't wait for you to hear some of this new stuff that people haven't heard yet. Because I told
some foreshadowing. Your next single is going to be played at the end of this episode, which is called Countryside. I'm excited to show people that in a little while. A little bit of foreshadowing for new music coming from Jon Stork as well. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
But no, I think, oh man, I don't even know where I was there.
It's funny. Songwriting is extremely unusual in that when you have a success in songwriting, that's great. You have a success, but human nature is, okay, I am successful. I did this. Now your instinct is to replicate that. You can't do that in songwriting. You can't write the same song over and over again and have success with it. It has to be different each time. And so I feel like that is really, really tough as a songwriter. You talk about it being the hardest thing you've ever done. It's so true. Because when you have a success, you can't just say, oh, I did it. I found the success. I found the button. Now I'll just push that button over and over again. But the button only works once. Now you have to find a different button and do it again. And that's the crazy thing about songwriting.
I love that.
Yeah.
That right there is money. I don't care what anybody else says. That's songwriting. I'm going to use that when I go to Nashville next, and these hit songwriters are talking, and I'm going to say it's like finding a button and then having to go find another button because that button doesn't work anymore. No, man, that's exactly right. And I think where I was with the whole conversation bit, talking to somebody and them telling me, man, this is tough. This is not for the faint of heart and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, look, I know what I've got. I'm going. The songs are only getting better. And I've still got my boots on. So as long as I got my boots on, man, I'm going. It doesn't matter what happens. And I wrote it.
And
I
as
wrote
an
that
artist,
last week.
you lived through probably the hardest thing any of us have lived through in our lifetimes. You came out the other side. You're still making it as a full-time musician. So now your inner voice should be telling you, hey, we survived that. We're good. Now we can just plow forward. And here we are. We're able to live life again. What's it like for you? You are one of the few, in my opinion, in the scene that has incredible songs that are ballads and really heart-wrenching, soul-filled songs. But then you also have really cool, upbeat, super party-themed kind of vibey songs as well. As a songwriter, what's the strategy there? Are you just bringing this in from the cosmos, or are you trying to write an upbeat song? Are you trying to write a heart-filled song? What's it like in that room?
You never know. My wife likes to refer to it as fishing. You're going fishing. But as long as you are prepared, even fishing can be pretty productive. Mm-hmm. So when I go into, a room, I've got a handful of ideas. I've got at least 3 is my minimum. Okay. I've got 3 ideas. I think that I could write with this person. If it's cold, never written together, never worked together, never hung out together, never played together, you have to. It's something, because if the conversation doesn't lead anywhere, I've got something. I've got something started. I've got something in my pocket. I've got a great idea. I've got a melody. I've got something to pull out from my tool belt, and we can get the ball rolling there. Now, because it happens a lot. If I wanted to go tempo, if I wanted to go upbeat, or I'm thinking about, well, I need something a little bit more upbeat. Man, I'm good with slow, sad country songs. I love some sad songs. And eventually people around me were like, all right, man, you might need to start writing something a little bit more upbeat or a little bit happier. So all that being said, it also depends on the other person, because you don't know what's going on inside of them.
You're talking about a co-writer, right?
A co-write, whether it's one or 2 people, a collaboration.
Yeah.
As far as me writing myself, I think the last song that I solo wrote, trying to think, that was probably a couple months ago, and it just popped out. I had gotten back home from a trip, and I wanted to get X amount of songs in X amount of days, and it just wasn't working out. And I got back and I was bummed out, thinking, I didn't get as much as I wanted to get accomplished with the time that I had away, and I laid down in bed that night. I was ready to go to bed. I pulled the sheets over me,
Oh my gosh, happens to me
and
all the
as
time, man.
soon as I laid down, man, it went boop, and
Oh,
I pulled the sheets back. I went and grabbed my guitar. I got back in bed. I pulled the sheets back over, and I was laying in bed when my wife walked in the room, and she was like, "What are you doing? You've been gone for a week. Just chill." And I said, "I can't, because if I don't get this down right now,
it's gone. Yep.
it's gone,
Yep.
and it's never coming back." And she has since, not even since then, but since she started kind of having her own ideas and thoughts and thinking about things a little bit more of a songwriter perspective, she's understood that as well. Because if you don't put that down, somebody else out there in the ether is going to grab that idea, and it's a real thing, man. It's
Absolutely.
a real thing, like we already talked about. But I wrote that song. I finished it the next day. I was like, I gotta go to sleep. I can't do this anymore. My eyes are closing. I put the guitar away. I got back in bed. I had half a song. I woke up the next day, finished it in the front seat of the van on our way to a show, and I played it when we got there. And the guys are pushing boxes in, and I'm sitting back there. Usually I'm right in the thick of it. I'm pushing stuff and setting things up with them and helping make sure everything's good. And I'm sitting in the back on top of a case with my phone, just trying to get this out and audible. Because at that point, it was really only humming, and then I did all the lyrics. When I write by myself, the process changes every single time. When I write with
It's a different button.
a co-writer, it's a different button. It's a different button. Thank you.
Yep.
And man, you know, when you write with other people and co-write or anything more than that, believe me, 3 people in one room is not crazy. When you start getting into 6, 7, 8 people on one song, I just don't know how it happens, but it's out there.
It certainly is.
But you know, those different perspectives and everything feeds into it. You never know what's going to happen. It's really, it's like flipping an 8-sided die. You're just trying to see where it lands. But you know, it all comes back to the conversation and the way that day starts, or that write. Whether it's by yourself,
funny, man.
or other
When
people.
Bernie told me that, it has changed the way that I listen to music now. Because like,
it probably ruined a couple things for you too. You're like,
no,
oh, I hear
not
that
at
a little
all.
different.
It's cool actually, because like now, like as a fan, the perspective changes and you can appreciate what the songwriter was trying to do. Whereas before, you're just, you know, man, I feel like so many of us just consume music kind of half-heartedly, right? Like, we love the melody. Maybe we don't really listen to the lyrics, but we love the melody. And then perhaps maybe 15 years later, you kind of, you know, somebody tells you, you know what that song's about, right? And you're just like, you know what? No, I don't, but I love the melody. And then you listen to the song and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what? So like,
this is about what?
Yeah, I feel like we do that a lot. Like we just consume music just kind of with no brain sometimes. It's like
Willy-nilly.
music just shuts us down, right? So when you start listening to music from a place of introspection and you have some advice or some words that somebody told you, and now you're listening to the music for the conversation, and you're like, oh, this is what Bernie was talking about. This song is a conversation. Like his big hit, Daddy Never Was the Cadillac Kind by Confederate Railroad. You think about that song, it's a conversation. Like it's just a conversation. You don't realize it. Sure, the words rhyme somewhat and the melody is great, but really it's just built around a conversation. And man, it's so weird how it changes your outlook on music, and now you're looking for those things. And then you notice the songs that are not a conversation too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think, and I'm again, I don't know how long ago Bernie told you that. So, like I said,
it's pretty fresh. Couple of weeks.
You can't unhear what you've heard,
Yep.
and I will just leave it at that. Because from now on, you're going to be listening to music in a totally different way.
Yep.
It's like somebody opened your eyes.
Well, same thing. I've been very fortunate to interview some really well known composers recently that do film scores and things like that. And so now, just watching movies, I never realized there was really all of this music in movies and TV and stuff, and you don't realize it until somebody tells you. This is what I was thinking there, and this is why I put that there. And then when you go back and watch movies now, you hear the music and you understand it now. And they put it like the Jaws theme. Like Steve Dorff told me, "Would you be afraid of the shark if you didn't hear the doo-doo, doo-doo?" And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't even know there was a shark without that." And he was like, "My point exactly."
Bingo.
So like it changes everything when you start thinking about why the whys of things. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, even in the, I got to bring it up. I got to say it. Otherwise it's going to drive me crazy. Going back to writing with people that I never even thought I would meet, that wrote songs that I grew up listening to, that I haven't heard, that a lot of people haven't probably heard in years, if not decades, who would know every word as soon as it came on.
Yep.
One of those types of songs.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And learning from those guys, and I can't tell you the first one who did it, but there's a lot of them that we would be there and we'd be sitting there and we'd get all the lyrics or half of them, and they would start reading it like a letter. And I don't know if you've heard that, but reading it like a letter. And if it doesn't read well like a letter, then you got to go back and fix. You got to fix something, because it's a conversation. And the ones that aren't conversations are points in time, or their instances, or their experiences or events or something along those lines. And those are amazing as well. But the one part of the conversation thing that I just love is man, that whole letter, whether it's to yourself, the last solo write that I got out of bed and grabbed the guitar on, it was introspective. It's a conversation with yourself, and that all came because I saw somebody rolling through the Walmart parking lot, looked like somebody just shot their dog, and he's smoking with his windows up. And I thought, I pointed him out and looked at my wife. I said, "That guy is hurting."
Yep.
Middle of the day, and she goes, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm just staring out the window. And
do you create a backstory for that person? Because that's what I do, man. When I see people like that, I'm creating a backstory. Like for some reason, just self-consciously, I'm trying to figure out why he's hurting. Like, I bet you this happened to him, or this happened to him. Are you that guy too?
I try not to assume too much,
right?
But yes. That guy got a story made about him that day. He didn't even know. And that's what, man, I loved bartending. And even from my bartending days, I had a notebook behind the bar that's since turned into just notes on a computer and a phone. But I had a notebook that I would just go write stuff down when I saw that stuff or heard it. Those situations or those people just sitting there pouring out their heart to somebody because they don't have anyone else that'll listen to them right now. It's just one of those things.
So I've had a very similar experience to bartending. I stream video games live sometimes on Twitch. I did it full time for a lot of years. Ooh, what just happened? Something happened with my hand as well. I did this and it switched. But anyway, so I would get that same thing. Just people coming in and they want commiseration and they want understanding and they need somebody to talk to and tell their story to. And there's so much anonymity on the internet that I'm safe. I'm a safe place, and so is a bartender, so to speak. So I always considered myself kind of a virtual bartender when I'm just sitting there playing Call of Duty or PUBG or something, and somebody comes in and tells me how bad their day was, or share their joys with me as well. I got married. We just found out we're pregnant. I've got 5 years of that on Twitch, and it's really a powerful, powerful thing. Like people, we talked about earlier how music is not seen as a viable career. Man, gaming is even worse than that, right? Like But I made a pretty good living at it, but the side of that is being able to help people and being openly a safe place, because that's what bartenders are as well. I always kind of likened myself to a virtual bartender, so it was interesting that you said that, because a lot of people are just looking for validation from. And it's easier to get that from a stranger, I think, than to throw yourself out there to a family member or something that might. Because, I mean, shoot, the people we know the best are the ones that are going to judge us the most, too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, if they ain't paying your bills or making you smile.
That's right. Absolutely. So what is Rocky Tonk?
Man, Rocky Tonk was an accident that came out of my mouth. And I think one of the first person that I said it to was my radio promoter, Jen. And I thought, well, how do you describe it? Because I'm not one full way or the other. I love, man, Gary Stewart and Dean Dillon. Like those guys. Not only could they write the songs, they were out in the bars. They were Rocky Tonk to me, because you know what? They could make you cry, and then the next song you'd be chugging beers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get down to what I was talking about, it's country music, but it's got melody. It's got a little bit more movement to it, and yeah, some songs might be slow and ballad type, and others are gonna be heavier hitting, and it's country music with a little bit heavier guitar on it. At the same time, it's a cross between genres and generations, just because, man, I grew up listening to praise and worship. I grew up in church, and my brother had a little bit later had a garage band that went on to play around the country, and they were contemporary and 90s alternative. And then I found a tape deck in the tractor that my dad bought from the neighbor, and they just left the tapes in there because tractors didn't have tape decks anymore. They had CD player in there, so they said, you can keep it. So, like, man, the radio on top of that. And I just told somebody the story. We had an old beat up, dusty radio in our barn, and my mom would put it on Christian, the Christian station that we could get, and my dad would go out there, he'd turn on the country station. And I remember just sitting in the feed room of the barn just listening to the radio, because I was like, wait a second, there's other music? There's more?
Yep.
I mean, I was a homeschool kid in the middle of the country who was in church 3 or 4 days a week. So,
showing pictures of your cows.
Yeah, exactly. I was showing pictures of my cows, and man, when I found music, found me, and it unfolded in those chapters the way it did for a reason, and I believe that, because I learned to feel music in church. I learned to play music from my brother, and I learned how to write it within a culmination of all those things and the people that I was learning from and getting just taken under the wing, really. Whether it was for an instant or whether it was, for the last 7 years of me doing this.
Just sponging everything, right? Just being a sponge.
Everything, man. Just listen, be nice to everybody and have a good memory. Is some of the best advice I ever got from somebody that left me hanging high and dry. And man, thank goodness for that guy, because you know what? He gave me some of the best advice I'll ever hear in my life.
Love it, man.
So,
I love it. I got a fan question for you, which is cool. About a week before we do these episodes, I always give the opportunity for folks out there in the world to ask their own questions, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but this is always cool because now you are speaking directly to a fan, and her name is Sheryl Stanley. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Sheryl.
So she wants to know, who has been your favorite artist to open for so far?
Man, we've played with a lot of really cool people. I'm going to be really honest with you. That's tough, Sheryl. Thanks a lot for putting me in the hot seat. My goodness. And if any of the other artists watch this,
Yeah, they're going to be like,
just
wait,
know,
you opened for me. How do you not
yeah,
say my name?
man, we've gotten to, I loved opening for Cody Johnson. Um, Amazing people. And the fact that I've known his band since that first night I got tricked into playing in a bar. Um, they were in that bar that night,
Wow.
and I was playing a Cody song actually.
Wow.
So I've known them the longest. Um, his band was a lot of them were in College Station when they were first getting rolling, and some of them I think are still there.
They are.
But a guy walked up on stage while I was playing and turned up the volumes and tuned some stuff and opened up some doors and turned on some lights in other parts of the bar. And I thought, does this guy work here? Does he own the place? And I'm playing a Kojo song, and he goes, keep going. It sounds great. And I kept on going. I got done. I put my stuff away, went and shook his hand. I said, hey, man, thanks for turning it up and tuning me in a little bit. I appreciate it. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. He said, man, you can play that song anytime you want. And I thought, oh, okay. And I kind of, all right, thanks. I said, I'm John. He goes, I'm Jody. I play fiddle for Cody. And I said, Cody who? And he said, that guy's song you were just playing, Cody Johnson. And I went, wait, what? Time out. But no, man, Cody.
Man, what a story. So, like, your first night, you're tricked into playing guitar and singing.
First night.
And you cover a Cody Johnson song. And unbeknownst to you, Cody Johnson's earballs are listening to you cover his song.
Yeah.
Wow.
And on top of that, I'm trying to think who else was in the bar. I want to say it was Sonny Sweeney, Bree Bagwell.
Golly, man.
Cody's now keys player, was a bass player back in the day. Seth. I'm trying to think of who else was there, man. But no, we still talk about it.
Wow, what a story,
and
bro.
When I was out on the road and when we were on the same booking agency and we were getting to play with those shows with Cody, and we still talked about it. The place was called Church Street Barbecue, and I'll never forget. I thought, man, this guy ain't gonna remember. And I walked around that corner, and he goes, "Come a long way from Church Street Barbecue, ain't it?" And I thought, holy smokes, this is crazy. But Cody has been awesome to us. Parker McCollum used to take us out all the time. Man, those guys are amazing.
You're trying to pick more than one now, John. That's
I know. I'll do. You know what? I'll say Cody. Aaron Watson. Okay,
I'm keeping them honest, Sheryl. No, you said Cody. Cody Johnson's your final answer, right?
I got a name drop. You know, if I have the chance, I guess to let people know that I didn't just pop up. We've been here, man, and to see the guys that used to bring you out doing so well is good for all of us. Honestly.
Yeah, and it's good motivation too, because I mean, you're likely next, bro. You're gonna make that step. I know it. I absolutely know it. Because you're phenomenal. You're a great songwriter, an incredible performer. And above all of that, though, you have such a rich, amazing voice. And it's so good, man. And I know a lot of people out there agree with that. I've seen your fan responses out there and comments and things. Man, I'll tell you what, your voice is what sets you apart.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So second song, we talked about it a little bit earlier. It's called Countryside. I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this will be the first time this song's ever been heard on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the song and how it came to be. And this is going to be the next single after Never Seen, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. This is probably going to end up coming out beginning of next year, just because I wanted to release it like yesterday, but everybody was telling me, look, if you release this right now, it's going to get covered up in Christmas music, and nobody will get the chance to hear it. And this is probably the most cinematic song that I've ever had.
It's very biographical too, isn't it? I mean,
it's biographical. It came straight out of a conversation, and I wrote it down. it's just it's real, but it's not just a geographical place. It didn't matter where I moved throughout the country.
Mm.
It was I always had my boots, my jeans, a hat, and a guitar. Man, it was just a part of me. And people would, well, "Where are you from, Tex? How you doing, man?" And I would just be like, "Hey, man, this is what you get. This is absolutely everything that you're getting." But Countryside was a failed attempt to write the song I had in my head probably 2 or 3 times. And on that 3rd or 4th time, it always came out to be something else. It was never Countryside.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a list of just things that encapsulated the idea of growing up out here and being raised on a ranch and just every part of it, as much as you can get in 3.5 minutes, let me add.
Yeah.
But man, it was already in my phone, and every time I teed it up to try to write it with somebody, because I thought this idea is too good. I don't want to mess it up by trying to bull my way through it and write it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in a room with Adam Hood. I don't know if you've gotten to talk with Adam
I have
yet.
not, but oh my gosh, I'm a big fan.
Me too, man. And he's an even greater person. So I'm excited for you to get with him eventually here. But I pulled out that idea, and he goes, "Well, yeah, I love that idea. That's a great idea." And I said, "Well, look here." And he looked at my phone. He goes, "Well, John, I think you got like over half a song here, man." And he just moved some things around.
Yeah.
And so much of what was, it's still a note in my phone. It's not even its own note. It's in a section of note that I have song titles and ideas. It never came to its own note. It was there.
Yeah.
It was there the whole time. And he goes, "Okay, let's write 4 more lines and we're done." And that was it. Like we wrote the chorus in no time flat, and it was really conversation. And around that time that we wrote it, I had just read a book that I was given to me from one of my family members out of Texas, and it was how our family had come over and settled in the Midwest. I was born and raised in Texas, but both sides of my family are from the Midwest, all the way up through the breadbasket, and it was the craziest thing for me because a lot of my family are still up there where those people, my original family came in and settled, living in sod houses. So when I'm talking about, my family settled here in 85, it was literally 1884, 85 when they came in to the Dakotas and settled down. And I'm just telling Adam all this stuff and how they lived in, sod houses, and my grandmother and grandfather are buried right down the way from family members that came in and settled. Hi, sorry, it's bedtime. I'm waving. But that all came out, and it just started falling into the song left and right, man. And I love you. I love you. Sleep tight. It's amazing how that song needed to be a failed attempt so many times in order to turn into what it is now. And man, I'll never forget getting that song. That was the first song that I was sent out of that batch of songs that we cut at the studio. And so I'm waiting, man. I'm like pins and needles. I'm ready to hear something. And they sent that to me, and I put my headphones in, and we had just had a baby. And man, I about hit my knees because it was
so
like
good, man. It's so good.
I'll have to send you the actual track.
I would love that. Yeah.
Man, it's so cool of how that song just opened up and just flowered. It was a blessing, to say the least, because it's real. And I've played it around here a little bit, and every time that I play that song around here or or in a couple other places, more rural areas. I like to play it, and just to kind of see what the gauge is. People walk up to me and ask me where they can find it because they can't find it on their phone at that moment in time. So,
well, now they'll have a place to see it, and we're excited to show it to everybody. This is a live, raw acoustic, literal living room performance by Jon Stork. Go ahead.
Again, it was personally mixed, so don't just wait till you hear the song.
Great, and I think you guys are gonna love it too, guys. It's countryside. Y'all check it out. Comment below that it's good. Let Jon know. Personally mixed.
I'm my own worst critic, all right, but who isn't?
All right, here it is.
When people pass through, they call it nowhere. But there's plenty of help if you're stranded there. I've been living here all my life. Sure am grateful for my countryside. Early in April when the fields are green, it's like stepping straight into a magazine. But pretty don't mean it ain't a wild ride. It's another year down on the countryside. Well, my family settled here in '85. I buried my daddy by his mama's side, living on land that'll take your life. I guess you never really make it out the countryside. It's the price of beef selling at the ring. Mama's losing babies and can't do a thing. Selling off pieces just to subdivide. It's another year down on the countryside. Well, my family settled here in '85. I buried my daddy by his mama's side, living on land that'll take your life. I guess you never really make it out the countryside. Lord, I know it's a hell of a life, and even when it's gone, I know I'll be alright. 'Cause I'll be here till the day I die. You won't ever take away, you can't take away my countryside. That's the next one. Thanks for listening.
All right, so we are back with Jon Stork. And Jon, again, thank you so much for your time. I've got like one or two small questions if you got a little bit more time.
Yeah, man.
I know you got to go in and see your darling baby. And so I'll try to wrap this up. These are kind of silly questions real quick. Well, not really a silly question, but this is going to put you on the spot, kind of like Sheryl did a little earlier. What is your Mount Rushmore of Texas artists?
Oh, man.
You get four. You
Willie
can only
Nelson.
put four up there, so remember that, four.
Willie Nelson. Jerry Jeff.
Now, some people out
Man.
there might say, well, Jerry Jeff's not from Texas, but Jerry Jeff
He's
is
from New York.
Texas. He
But
is
you know
Texas,
what?
by God.
I don't know of anybody else that would have brought friends to Lukenbach.
Yep, that's right. Absolutely.
Okay, so I
just
you can get
want to repel that right now. Jerry Jeff is 100% Texas, in my opinion.
you know what? I'm taking it.
Yep.
And I know somebody that would probably give you a fat lip if you said otherwise.
Yeah,
His name's Django Walker.
Yep.
So, man, those two, Billy Joe. No, I'm trying to space it a little bit, because if they're all there's so many guys that have come out of Texas, and it's not just country, and people need to. And don't get me wrong, I love country music, but good music is good music. Golly, you could have given me a heads up. I would have been able to answer this a little bit
halfway there, John. You're almost there, 50%.
Willie Jerry.
The squirming is great, by the way. This is good for TikTok.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not calling people that are outside of Texas. Jeez Louise. I'm thinking. I gotta make sure. Okay, no, okay. I didn't know the name of the town, or if it was actually Texas or Oklahoma, and I didn't want anybody coming at me on the internet. All right, Guy Clark,
absolutely.
Number 3, and man, golly, there are too many. It's unfair, because there's so many guys that belong on a Rushmore. And I'm going to kick myself, or I'm going to get made fun of for who I didn't put in there at the last second. Man, I'm blanking so hard right now, Boston. I don't even know what to tell you.
I'm not going to help you either.
I know. I had a feeling
your first 3 are great. Great answers. But you got a lot of people that can fit into that number 4. There's a whole bunch.
It's kind of like the actual Mount Rushmore, and if you haven't seen it, you should go. You'll never feel more American in your life. People would argue, because of opinion, who should be on that one instead of the 4 that are up there. But
it's
I think they
definitely
did a great
subjective. That's the fun of it.
Man, Willie, Jerry, Guy. Let me see. Who did I listen to last?
I mean, you could just put 3 up there and just leave the other one playing.
Hey, man, I'll leave 3 up there for now. And when we convene, I promise you, I will have a 4th.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
There's too many. My tour manager is gonna beat me
I'm
with a
gonna
sack
send
of oranges.
you a list of about a dozen names after this is over, and you're gonna hate me. But anyway.
Oh man, no, I'm gonna hate myself.
I'm not gonna do it on air though. I don't wanna try to bias your opinion. So last question: what's next for you? What's on the horizon, and how can people follow you?
You can follow me everywhere, anywhere they're at, for the most part, other than Discord. Because my Discord is broken.
Maybe. It could be my end. We don't know.
No. Social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, you name it. TikTok, I got it. You got it, I got it. That's where I'm at as well. And, man, as far as what's next, I've written the best songs of my life. And, I'm just trying to get them put down and put out at this point. It's crazy because there's so much music constantly being created.
That's exciting news, man. That's really exciting.
And I'm just holding on, man, because the pen has been just pulling me around. I've been chasing all kinds of ideas, and it just keeps happening. And it's what happens when you water something, man.
Mm-hmm.
You put it back into what you're doing, and it doesn't matter if it's songwriting or I like to tell guys that are asking me, or people that are asking me, what do you think I need to do first? And it's like, go. You just need to go. You just need to start. There's no bodybuilder that ever went to the gym one time and just walked out just doing his thing. That's not how it works.
Yep.
This is a muscle. It all comes back to just you have to get reps, and you have to start. And sometimes it takes less time for other people than it does for you, maybe. I'm just excited to release more pieces of me that put together more of this puzzle, so people can see. And the most relatable and just fun, happy, sad, up, down, left, right, man. It doesn't matter. I've got the songs for as long as I want to keep putting them out, and they're still coming. I got another, I don't know, 7 songs in the past 2 weeks, and
damn, churning them out.
Man, it's just, I love it. I love it. I love this. I love being on stage, and I love playing the songs for people, but I love writing the songs because it's like a treasure hunt. It's you're going on a journey that nobody's ever been on before. You're creating a new fingerprint, and there might be aspects of my fingerprint or thumb that you might have, but they're not the same. And like you said, you have to recreate, but it's got to be new. Yep. And so that's you getting me fired up now. I'm gonna have to go write a song.
I love it, man. Jon Stork, for the first time, with me on the Boston Chris Show, and man, so blessed to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. You guys can follow along with everything Jon has going on at jonstork.com. That's going to be in the description down below. Right there on your screen, you can see his @ I believe it's @ Jon Stork Official. You can find him on all social media under that tag, or just go to Google and type in Jon Stork. It's just Jon right there on your screen. And, I mean, it shows up everywhere. You have a very searchable name, which is always a plus for sure. But
absolutely.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you so much, Boston. I appreciate you. And, man, this has been awesome. Thanks for a great interview, and thanks for your time. And I'm glad we got to do it.
Hey, it's Bernie Nelson, and thanks for tuning into the Boston Chris Show.